Tonight, a piano concert at the Lawrence O'Brien Arts Centre will surely tug at the heartstrings. Known for her innovative performances, Tong Wang is visiting Happy Valley Goose Bay for the first time as part of debut Atlantic Tour. The award-winning pianist has already visited with students in town, and she will be performing her concert Towards the Flame later on this evening at the Arts and Culture Centre. Tong joins me now for more. Good morning.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So welcome to Labrador.
Mm-hmm.
You describe yourself as a hopeless romantic who loves anime, poetry, sports, and making different flavored pancakes every other day. Can you tell us a bit about your musical side?
Yes, so I was trained as a classical musician. I went to conservatory in Boston, and then I did all the rest of my degrees in Montreal. But as I sort of expanded my career, I explored also different genres of music and a lot of interdisciplinary projects and concerts that sort of involve unconventional methods.
And before I ask you about your concert, what's it like been visiting and playing for the students in Happy Valley Goose Bay?
Oh, yesterday it was so lovely. I mean, like you said, it's my first time here, and I basically saw all the ages from the elementary school. In that age, the classroom setting, they are just the most curious and inspiring bunch. And I do the same program at different schools, and I'm always surprised by how creative and thoughtful and imaginative the students are and their feelings. And then in the big theater, when I did it for 6 of the high school classes, they were very, very inspired as well. And some of the girls stayed after and listened to me practice for like the entire time.
And what did some of the kids have to say to you, after seeing you perform?
Oh, they were thrilled. They're like, wow, I want to grow up and play piano just like you, like one day. And so I think they were really, really excited, and different people had different questions about what I do.
Which is great too, because they hadn't had a music teacher for a couple of years. So
that's what I heard. Because when I did the program, I was wondering some of their basic music training, and it seems like they don't have a lot of opportunities to hear concerts, or most of them haven't really heard an orchestra.
Yeah, they got the music teacher back this year, so right. At least you set them on the right foot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for your concert, what's the inspiration behind Towards the Flame?
Yeah, so it's a curation of pieces that have a lot of personal meaning and emotional depth for me. So once I looked at the pieces and the narrative, I realized there's a lot of themes of light and darkness, and particularly stories of love and grief. So then I thought, this very universal theme, especially in the dark winter times, is something important for people to explore and to give people a space to sit with their sadness and grief.
And in Labrador, we know darkness in the winter because we are north.
Yeah.
And I'd like to bring up a little bit of the music. Chopin's Funeral March Sonata. You performed this in Dartmouth earlier this month as a part of the debut Atlantic Tour you're on.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what's it like to perform this song as part of your concert?
It takes a lot of energy and emotion each time, because the music is so heavy and so dark, and of course it's associated with some of my own traumas and grief, but also I really feel the audience's emotions and each of their stories. I ask them to share it, but also even, on this tour, recent events, hit very close to home for us Canadians, and whether it's personal grief or collective grief, just every time playing the music, there's just a lot of really solemn emotions channeling through me.
And what's it like to make yourself so vulnerable to complete strangers, and what do you hope the outcome is?
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage. It's kind of like a trust fall, and I think, if even on stage and perhaps I'm playing for a lot of strangers, I'm really hoping for a kind of honest, earnest connection and a space for people to feel connected. That's why when I play, I try to be as open and vulnerable as I can be and tell my personal stories. And in that way, I feel like what the audience has said to me is they are able to experience the music in a much more in-depth and personal way they've never had before. And it changes the way we listen and feel the music.
Now, I'd like to play a clip of some of the audience members sharing stories with you during the concert.
Yes.
I lost my father and then my mother and then my older brother within the last 5 years. It's been a really hard journey and a very emotional one, but also very beautiful because, as you say, in death there's also light in life. And I don't know what your journey is, but I know that you play beautifully, and I've really enjoyed how much emotion and expression you put into how you play, and I wanted to say thank you.
Miss Wang, your presence was so special. The emotions you arose in me went all over the gamut. I remember my first wife who died of breast cancer over 20 years ago, and your presence when you talked about this evening was so touching, made me think of her fondly. I could feel sadness and joy that she was in my life.
So what's it like when you're recording those messages from people who just heard you play?
Yeah, so this activity is actually when I'm off stage. So I explain it to them before intermission, and I invite them to come up to the cassette recorder and leave any kind of message. And it's before the Chopin Funeral March Sonata. And then afterwards, when I go home alone to my hotel room, then I read all the messages and listen to the voice memos, and I'm just like feeling all the chills from it.
Now, you said cassette recorder, and you do have it here in front of you. And,
yeah.
Did you bring that in for the kids to see yesterday?
No, I didn't show them because that program is slightly different. It's about music and emotion, but not like completely centered on a lot of the grief.
I was just thinking about the technology. I'm sure the kids are going to be like, what's a cassette tape?
Most of the audiences, they find this fun because I'm like, does anyone remember this? And because the audience is old, a lot of times older, they're like, wow, they're like, that's so nostalgic. Of course we remember the cassette.
And how did you pick up that medium as a cassette recorder to use to record?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, nowadays everything's like on phones. We could use a voice memo on the phone. But there's something so nostalgic, and there's a quality of the sound. There's a little bit of static. It's also a radio. And, you know, if you go to remote places, I think it's kind of like a little companion, and it plays it back right away. And there's something more tangible about this tape, I think. Yeah.
I like it. It's nice to see. I still have one saved in my old box of technology, my old Sony Walkman. Now, your concert is called Towards the Flame. And what is that journey that you take the audience on? And where do you hope to arrive by the end?
That's a great question. And I'll jump to the second part, where we hope to arrive. I think what I've come to realize, it's really, there is no arrival, right? It might sound cliche, the processing of grief. It's a continuous journey. You know, we go through it sort of in almost like a cyclical pattern again and again. And the musical journey sort of does this. There's a lot of ups and downs. We start with a very heartwarming Mozart, and then there's the first Scriabin's Funeral March, and there are moments of hope and light throughout the concert, and I think it's just this constant reminder that we need to find moments of resilience and moments of allowing that darkness to exist. But that being said, it does end. The finale of the Firebird is very, very triumphant and uplifting.
Well, Tong, thanks so much for coming in. That's pianist Tong Wang, and she will be performing at the concert at the Lawrence O'Brien Arts Center this evening at 7:30 p.m., and the show is called Towards the Flame. And here is the first part of Chopin's Funeral March Sonata as performed by Tong herself, and it was from her concert in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, earlier this month. Thanks so much for joining us.